Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so figured I'd wing it on some basketball content. It's obviously the off season, so it ain't no basketball being played, but we do have free agency coming up, and the big names, of course, Paul George. He's gonna be talking to the Orlando Magic, I believe the Clippers, of course, and the third team, I think they said, was the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, it was the Sixers. If I'm a betting man, if I'm going to be honest with you, I'd probably bet he'd just go back to the Clippers, y'all. I ain't going to lie to you. It's probably going to end anticlimactically. And the reason why I think that is because the Clippers gave up so much to get him, and they're probably going to cave. They got this new building opening, and what it really comes down to is a man wants a certain amount of money that they don't want to give him. So what do? That's the thing. If you can't get value for him, you certainly can't let him walk. And a guy like Steve Ballmer doesn't have money issues at all in this world. So it really just comes down to Ballmer biting the bullet and paying the man, or pulling off a sign and trade. And I just don't know what they would get in return for a sign and trade from the two places he wants to go. Philadelphia doesn't have anything on contract that they would be willing to move on from. Everybody they got are free agents. Except for Joel Maxey is somebody I know they're going to pay. So they can't really, if I'm not mistaken, they can't really match salaries. So that would be losing him outright if he goes to Philadelphia. I honestly don't think he's going to do that to their franchise. And then Orlando has some things to trade, but they don't, from what I understand, they have so much cap space that they don't have to do that. So when you talk about matching salaries with Orlando, what type of return are you looking to get? So really, he would be kicking the Clippers on the way out in these situations, leaving them without his asset, which is very valuable to them, given the fact they mortgaged 5 and 6 picks or whatever it was to get him, SGA and everything else they gave up to get him. I just don't see him leaving his hometown, doing that to a team he's been with for 7 years or whatever it's been. I just don't see it. 6 years, something like that. So for me, I really believe that he's going to stay. I would like for him to leave, but the two places that he's chosen to go to, I don't see him moving on to those places, doing that to the Clippers. I really don't. I really don't. If he would have chose some teams that had good sign and trade options, then I could say, okay, well, it looks like he probably is out of the door. But all things considered, looking at what the options are, I just think he wants his money from the Clippers, and I think Steve Ballmer's playing hardball. Plus, when you let Paul George walk, now you got to wonder if Kawhi Leonard's going to want to walk. Now you got James Harden on tap. He may move on. So my thing was with the Clippers is, if you were going to move on from these people, this season, off season, probably ain't the one, because you're getting ready to open this brand new building. So, you know, you held on to those guys through the duration of the Staples Center years, but then as you get ready to move into the fantastic building you built in Inglewood, now you ain't gonna have no stars. I don't actually think that's going to happen. The Clippers do need to make some moves, but I don't know what type of moves they can make. That's the thing. So it's like, on the other hand, can he win there? Can those guys win there? Nah, it's been proven over and over again that doesn't work. So is his best option is to stick it to the Clippers and just leave? I just don't see a great solution. But I do see Steve Ballmer having the ability to pay him whatever the hell he wants. And so I think that's more likely what's going to happen there. And I told the Clippers, and I said this on camera a year ago, they should have blew that thing up a year ago. Got all the picks in the world. They could have had an opportunity at starting this thing over with some players in place that they could have gotten trade back then. That way they would have had everybody on contract this year without having to do negotiations and stuff like that when the building opens. It just seems like a weird year to want to go through all these free agency type of circumstances, and they set it up knowing that this was going to be how it went when they signed Paul George's contract initially. Whatever the last extension was, they knew it was going to end now. So I don't see him leaving there. I would love for the Clippers to go down in shambles, but I don't think that's going to actually happen. I think they're going to continue running it back with the same core, hoping that they can do some things around the margins and maybe make them marginally better. But that situation looks a little weird to me. Also, from what I understand in regards to James Harden, if he were to leave, he's on contract. He's on contract, so it would be a trade of some sort that would send him out. And that seems a little tricky for the place that he's rumored to be going, which is my Los Angeles Lakers. That look a little tricky trying to make that work, and I just don't think he's worth the trouble. I don't think he's worth the trouble. Plus, I don't see the Clippers actually doing a deal with the Lakers that the Lakers are fond of. We did do that Zubac deal with them back in the day, but that was us initiating that stupidity. And of course, they took the deal because it was heavily lopsided their direction. So, yeah, there ain't going to be too many Laker-Clippers trades that help the Lakers, I do not believe. So, yeah, I don't see James Harden being a Laker. Now, when it really comes down to it, back to Paul George, if I had a choice for what place I'd send Paul George, I mean, it pertains to the options that he has. Probably Philadelphia, to be honest with you. Even though I think Orlando is a nice playoff team that could use his 30 points and some two-way defense, but his piece is low-key redundant to the Orlando Magic, because you got Banchero, you got Franz Wagner, and those two players basically play his position. They're small forward, power forward. So are you gonna move one of them dudes to the two? Franz, you moving Franz to the two at like 7 feet? And you got a plethora of guards, some of which you probably ain't gonna resign, like Markelle Fultz, and still got Cole Anthony on board. Got to do something with Suggs. I think he's a free agent. Probably gonna resign him. And then you got the rookies that you've drafted. A plethora of rookies that they drafted. Who'd they get in the draft this year in Orlando? Tristan Da Silva, who's also playing Paul George's position. So, unless they plan on shaking some things up in some massive ways, I don't really see where Paul George fits in other than pushing players who should be starting down to the bench. It's an awkward fit. I think you love the idea of switchability, but they don't have that not twin towers, but that center in place that's really going to make it so that they're a real contender. And so for me, if I'm Orlando, Paul George is a wonderful piece to bring in to spread the floor, but you're still capped off. Once you run into New York, once you run into Boston, you're out of here anyway. That's kind of how that looks to me if you're Orlando. So it probably ain't the best investment for them to give Paul George his money. So Philadelphia has it to give, from what I understand. They're gonna be capped out massively once they pay Maxey, Paul George, and Joel, of course, on contract is gonna make it so that they are not very deep, in my opinion. Of course, you brought in the TikToker McCain, who I think is gonna be a nice offensive player. Probably has some defensive upside, maybe a 6-man off the bench, but it's a much more seamless fit for Paul George to go there and be their starting small forward or power forward, however they want to straighten that out. But that 3-star model, I'm not a big believer in, and once you start running into deep teams like Indy, Boston, New York, you're out of here. So, hey, that's the real reality of it. New York has turned themselves into an official contender with a lot of depth. They did fantastic in the draft. They spent all kinds of money on players, assets that are going to be there for multiple years. So you got to see them as a team, the biggest contender right now to Boston's throne in the Eastern Conference. Unless somebody builds something I don't see coming. But right now, it's pretty much their conference, New York and Boston. So I wouldn't be certain Philly can launch themselves into that type of position with the right player. I don't know that Paul George is that guy, though. I think Paul George has proven he can do some great things in the regular season, but come playoff time, he's not a winner like that. He hasn't been a winner like that in a very long time. We haven't considered him that type of winner since he left the Indiana Pacers. So, for me, once I saw what I needed to see from him getting outplayed by Joe Ingles in the playoffs about 4 or 5 years ago, I ain't really been a Paul George believer. Couple that with the injury that he had, that leg injury again, the Olympics like 8 years ago, I ain't really felt all that confident that Paul George is the best investment, man. I really haven't. I just think that wear and tear and age is going to start catching up with him, and his next contract is probably going to be his last major contract. So I wouldn't want to be the team giving him that personally. I know a lot of star players look at him as one of the best players to pattern their game after because he has so much talent. He has such a silky smooth game, but his focus and his consistency is not GOAT level like a lot of people want to say it is. It's just not. His skill set may be modern skill set, big forward, T-Mac, like, everybody likes that build, tall, rebound, handle, get his own shot, catch and shoot, defense. He has all the tools, has always had all the tools, which is why I think a lot of players pattern their game after him. But at the end of the day, if you don't show up in big minutes, bro, you can have the best body. It don't matter because inside of you, you don't have it in you. And so Paul George has never proven he's had it. And so I wouldn't feel all that good about investing 200, whatever the hell it's going to be, to Paul George. I just don't think that's the greatest investment. But if you're Joel Embiid, maybe you feel like you can drag him and Maxey along for a championship ride. But I just think depth is the answer, especially in the East right now. Depth is the answer, not necessarily the 3-star model. So I don't know, man. I just think Paul George going back to the Clippers, man. I really do. I just don't think the options that he's chosen for himself are realistic for him to actually move on. And if he really was serious about moving on, I think it would be different teams on that list. That's what I really think. Philadelphia, it could happen, but like I said, that 3-star model is ill-advised in this era, especially with the collective bargaining agreement being as it is, all these aprons and all these different types of stuff that put restrictions on you. I wouldn't suggest it if I'm Philadelphia to go that route. So we'll see. We will see, man. Now we move on to Klay Thompson. Klay's a whole nother story. And the reason why I say Klay's a whole nother story is because it looks like tea leaves are showing us that he's out of there. He's on the first thing smoking out. From what I understand, the only real deals that he has on the table, like 2-year deals. I don't know how credible that is. I heard it from someone who tends to troll a lot, but essentially what he said is 2-year deals are what are being offered across the board for Klay Thompson. Nobody wants to give him that 3rd year. I would do it as a team option. I'd give him 2 with a team option personally. That wouldn't be a problem. I think that's a low risk, high reward for him. But the likelihood that a team is going to decline that 3rd year is pretty damn high for him. So he would probably want a player option or just it outright being 3 years. If I'm the Lakers, to be honest with you, I don't know if it makes sense for us to give him 3 years or not. But if the rest of the field isn't giving him 3 years, and we really want him, I'd do the studying on that and see if it makes sense for us to do it, because we have an all core anyway. And he is a shooter, 39%. Even on his worst day, he's still a good shooter. And on his best day, he's the best shooter, not named Steph Curry. Other half of the Splash Brothers, and ultimately somebody who's used to stability, used to being in the same situation for his entire career. So I think the idea is to try to align him with the timeline of LeBron James and let them finish their careers together with Anthony Davis and just see that as a seamless fit and an opportunity for Klay to come back home and be a part of something that was always meant for him to be a part of, with his dad trying, a Laker in the rafters with his jersey retired. So I think that, the Dallas Mavericks make a good point in regards, a good case rather. I think that's the other team that the Lakers are likely going to be sending, trying to bid against. Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, and then Klay Thompson. I think that looks great on paper. They did move on from Tim Hardaway, so I could totally see that being somewhere where that would be enticing to him. But I just think the Lakers are just nice enough of a situation to where everything else that he's looking at, in regards to just the historical ramifications of him being a Laker, is probably the choice if I'm him. Even though Dallas just went to the finals, Luka Doncic, younger star, Kyrie Irving, maybe a younger co-star, I still think at the end of the day, that's a California dude who's never been outside of California. So do I see him moving to Texas at absolute random? I don't remember where he went to college, so I'm not sure if he's never been outside of California. But as far as his professional living and his as a young person, he's always been in Cali. If he wasn't out here, he was in Oakland or San Francisco. So I just think he's going to want to stay in state. And I think he's going to end up with the Lakers. I really do. I think he'll end up here. The fit ain't bad. And, Dallas is a team that hasn't proven it can win. And this is a champion. That's another thing. At least with LeBron and AD, they've won it in the bubble. I think that's going to hold weight with a guy like Klay, who only knows championships. And so if he's leaving Golden State, I don't think he's going too far away if I'm a betting man. And I'm not just saying that as a Laker fan. I genuinely believe that. He ain't leaving California, not if he has a choice. So I don't think the fit is bad in Dallas. I wouldn't, in a nutshell, be mad at him for going to Dallas if I weren't a Laker fan. Obviously, my Laker mind would be upset, but I'm not upset at him for choosing that. That's a good fit. And they may have the money. They have new ownership, though. So I don't know how they feel. But, these are two organizations that take care of their stars. The Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks are probably the best at it right now. When you talk about ownership and a history of being happy as a superstar, yeah, you'd be hard-pressed to find two better organizations. So I think Klay is leaving a situation where he's disgruntled. He would love to stick it to the Golden State Warriors. And I think both of the teams on his list are good teams for him to go to. I think the Clippers are also on that list too, but I think some people have to move out for him to move in. And I don't know if that's an upgrade. I don't see Klay Thompson as an upgrade for Paul George if I'm the Clippers. I don't see that. I still think you'd rather have Paul George in most situations. So I think all signs are pointing toward the Lakers, but the Dallas Mavericks make a very good case. I really believe that. A very good case. So I wouldn't be mad at either one of those destinations for fit. And Rod Welcome here is a Laker fan, as you guys already know. I said a couple days ago that we should probably go after Klay Thompson if it made sense. So I think it does at this point, and I think I'll be very happy to bring him in with low expectations, a very low ceiling expectation. I don't expect him to do a whole lot. I don't expect him to have a lot of good shooting nights, but I expect the shooting nights that are really good are going to help us, and I expect that just having him out there on the floor is going to create so much gravity for LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Couple that with the presence of Dalton Knecht, I just think that makes us a much more dangerous basketball team all the way around, especially from behind the perimeter. So I think it's a good fit, man. I think it's almost a seamless fit, really. And I think he'll start here. I don't think anybody will try to ask him to come off the bench in either one of those situations. Dallas, either. I'm pretty certain they will start Klay Thompson, and I think that's something that has been said is important to him. I wouldn't be against him starting, not at all. I think some of our guys are better off the bench anyway. Dalton's not ready to start. He may be, but Austin's played his best ball off the bench, so I think he's extremely comfortable coming off the bench, especially for a guy like Klay Thompson. And if Klay's struggling, we can adjust the roster from there. But as far as him starting outright, I don't see anything keeping him from starting here or in Dallas at all. So I just think it works, man. I think it works. I think he's going to find himself in a good spot. I hope to see him bounce back, especially if he comes to my team. And so that's that. What else? Was there anything else? I think there's some things free agency-wise to talk about. Royce O'Neal got his money. J.B. Bickerstaff is now the coach of the Detroit Pistons. So they found their coach in their situation. I think that's a good choice. Leaving Cleveland, going to Detroit may not be the best situation, but I think Detroit's turned the corner. And I think Ron Holland was a good choice for them, so long as they're willing to move on for some non-shooters, for which should net them a nice value. So if I'm the Detroit Pistons, I'm in the trade market. I'm probably going to move somebody. I don't know if anybody sees that coming. I don't know if that's what Trajan Langdon's thinking, but it'd probably be in his best interest to try to get in the Lauri Markkanen sweepstakes. And they have the trade pieces to get him, I think. I think they have their picks and stuff like that. They should be able to make a good move like that, try to get some real shooting into their starting lineup. And if they do that, that team is going to jump and win. So I know OKC probably wants Markkanen. I know the Golden State Warriors wouldn't mind having Markkanen, and I'm not sure that Danny Ainge will ultimately trade him. But if I'm the Detroit Pistons and Trajan Langdon, if I have the most competitive trade to make for him, I'm going to make sure that Markkanen is a Detroit Piston. That's what I would do. So just want to throw that out there, man. There's some other stuff happening in free agency too, but I don't actually remember what it is right now, so I just kind of leave it at that. But I appreciate everybody for watching BDF 44, and I'm out.